Hi guys, it's Miss Checka. I am here at the monument for the Battle of Bunker Hill. There's a little bit of confusion locally about the names because Boston is actually surrounded by hills. There's Winter Hill, Prospect Hill, Bunker Hill, and Breed's Hill. So the battle is actually closer to Breed's Hill, but it's known by Bunker Hill. This geography of the hills around Boston is actually really important to understand why the battle happened in the first place. So if you can picture that there's these hills that surround a peninsula, and a peninsula, you know, it juts out into a body of water. In this case, it's the Massachusetts Bay. Well, if you know anything about England in the 1700s and you think about the geography of England, it's an island. It's an island that had a really, really powerful navy, as you would expect an island country to have. So the British filled Massachusetts Bay with their really powerful warships. The colonials didn't have warships, so they couldn't get into Boston from the ocean. The British soldiers were inside the city, already stationed there. Pretty much the only part that the colonists controlled is, you know, if the battles of Lexington Concord happened in April of that year, this is 1775, then afterwards they came and they controlled kind of the neck of the peninsula, which is where Roxbury is. So you have British Navy, British inside, hills, and then these colonials here. So when the colonists found out that the British were trying to push out through these hills, that's when this battle occurred. And before the battle, there was some worry on the American side and kind of taunting on the British side that in a pitched battle, the colonial army, which is basically militia, they would never stand up to a trained army like the British. So, you know, we've already established that their navy was really powerful. You have to imagine kind of also the psychology of, you know, the British army being one of the most powerful army in the whole world, and they were trained, they had uniforms, and their uniforms were sharp, you know, bright red with actual targets in the front, you know, big white X, which, you know, turned out to not really work in their favor. If you think about modern warfare, most you know, modern military uniforms are made to blend in rather than to stand out, but the British figured this out later. At any rate, beforehand, nobody thought that the colonists were going to be able to stand up and pitch battle, and it turns out that they did. And not only did they, but they showed a lot of bravery. One of the most famous things that was said during this battle, and it's not original to the battle, that's very famous that they said there, was, you know, don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes. Yeah, so you can picture, you know, it was a time for the colonists to prove themselves a little bit. Don't get carried away with being impressed because they actually lost. We did lose the Battle of Bunker Hill, but for the British, it's what's called a Pyrrhic victory. So if you know anything about ancient military history, you know that a Pyrrhic victory is one in which you win the battle, but you lose the war. And in this case, the British, they won. Yay! Hail Britannia, whatever. But they also sustained casualties that were more than twice as much as the American side. So the Americans sustained casualties of about 400 and some. The British was more than 1,000. That includes on both sides those who were injured and those who were killed. Unfortunately, on the British side, it mostly included their officer corps. And if you are a, you know, well-trained army, you really need those officers to lead your battles, to lead your troops in battle. So that's why, yeah, the British losses, they felt those for a very long time. So we lost, they won. One kind of sad detail from this battle is that there was a doctor who everybody loved and who was really a leader in the community, both in Boston and Massachusetts, and his name was Dr. Joseph Warren. His name will come up in a different video. But anyway, he died at this battle, and Paul Revere, who did not fight, Paul Revere had done the dental work for a lot of his friends who were, other leaders in the revolution. And he had to come out and identify the bodies through the dental work that he had done. So he identified his friend, Dr. Joseph Warren, which I think is very sad. Just a final note about the monument itself. This form should look pretty familiar to you because it looks a lot like one of the most famous sculptures in the United States, which is the Washington Monument. So it seems like it's a pretty American style of memorial, but it's actually not. That form of sculpture is called an obelisk, and it comes all the way from ancient Egypt. And in ancient times, you would make an obelisk out of one single stone. We call that a monolith. Mono, not like mono, but M-O-N-O. One lith or lithos, rock. They would make those out of one giant stone. This one and most modern ones are made out of many rocks. This one came up in the 1800s. And if you get the chance to go outside the United States, you will see monuments that look like this all over the world. It's a really common way, all the way back to ancient times, to commemorate maybe an important person or a battle or, a city. So this form is called an obelisk. This is Battle of Bunker Hill. We lost.